My name's Emily Webber. I work at GDS, which is Government Digital Service. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a project that I was working on. I'm not working on it at the moment, but was setting up an Agile framework for portfolio management at GDS. And so I'm not going to claim to be any expert. I'm just going to talk to you about my experiences, and if anyone has experiences that they want to share afterwards, that would be great as well, because I'm sure lots of people have lots of good stuff to share. So I have a background as a delivery manager, generally in software projects. I joined GDS. Does everybody know what GDS is? Government Digital Services, making UK government digital by default. So I joined GDS October last year, so I've been there for about a year. When I joined, this had just launched. So this is gov.uk. It was just come out of beta. It was the first iteration of live. So yeah, gov.uk just launched. It was massive focus for GDS. It was the kind of first thing that GDS was set up to do. And so GDS had gone from AlphaGov, which was the first 12-week version of this, with 8 weeks with 12 people, 12 weeks with 8 people. I keep getting those two mixed up. And over a year had grown from those small handful of people to somewhere like 300 people. So it's a pretty rapid growth. And also, massive focus had been gov.uk. At the same time, there was lots of other projects kind of growing and rising up. And it was a point in time where, some here. So we've got something like 8 functional areas now across GDS, things like assisted digital policy, digital transformation of services, identity assurance, performance platform. We've got government CTO work going on. So there's lots of stuff going on. Focus was kind of shifting, and it was a chance to take a kind of step back and redress and look at what our priorities were and work out what everyone was working on, and yeah, get kind of a single view of everything. Actually, when I walked into GDS, it was a little bit like a ghost ship. Everyone was exhausted, so it was a little bit strange on your first week. So a colleague of mine, Jamie Arnold, was asked, who was the program delivery manager for gov.uk, was asked to kind of set up this portfolio function. So we looked at it, and he asked me to join him. So we did what we normally do at GDS, is we started with user needs. So we talked to senior management team, we talked to people across GDS, and tried to work out what it was that we were actually, what it was we were trying to do and why we were trying to do it. So we spent a week doing Inception type things. We looked at drivers, we looked at opportunities, we looked at what the scope might be, and shared that around with some people. We came out with these drivers, which was create a portfolio management function that complements existing Agile methods. So most of GDS works with Scrum. If it's software development, there's a lot of, if anyone's been to GDS, every single wall is covered with post-it notes. There's boards up everywhere. You have to fight for space. It's crazy. Looking at implementing clear and understandable workflows, so simple ways that things come into the organisation, decision points, create a cross-organisation view of priority, so are we working on the right kind of stuff at the right time, and clear actionable management information. The senior management team was starting to feel less connected with what was going on, so they wanted simple ways to check we were moving in the right direction. So we also did a mapping exercise. So this was the view of how things came into GDS when we started. It was, some of those ways were actually kind of gathered. So lots of conversations in corridors where somebody had said, "Hey, can you do this?" And someone had said, "Yeah, sure, we'll do that." Departments coming and us kind of helping them out build things. We kind of looked at this and went, "Okay, this is a bit crazy. How can we simplify it?" We spent a bit of time thinking, and we streamlining, and we came up with something that looks a little bit more like this, much prettier. And GDS has a little bit of history of motorway signage. If anyone knows the gov.uk typeface is that used on motorway signs. So it felt apt to do something along these lines. So where projects are working in quite different ways and had different stages, we kind of created three more, it's actually four kind of more clearer stages. So looking at assessment, which is a simple thing, should we be doing something, putting a decision point in here, looking at discovery, which was more in-depth review of what a project might be, decision point in here, delivery, which is as long and short as it needs to be, depending on the project, and a decision point in here as well, which is a kind of go ahead, make it operational, it's done, we don't need to do anything, and those kind of things. So it looks a little bit more like this as well. So I kind of broke it down a little bit more like our wall. We kind of had things that are in progress for assessment, a decision point here, discovery, queued, prioritised, in discovery, discovered, decision point, similar for delivery, and then operational and done no maintenance, where operational is kind of the footprint of the organisation, so what does it take just to keep the organisation running as a minimum. And these decision points are actually approval board meetings, which are amazingly fast, surprisingly, for a government organisation. So the kind of things that we're looking at each of those stages. So working at a government organisation, people are quite used to lots of paper, and we don't like that. We also don't like massive business cases too much. So if you want to get a project off the ground, there's lots of different stages of business cases that you generally submit to lots of different governance groups. So we wanted to make that clearer and make that a bit easier internally at GDS. And we looked at assessment being 5 simple questions. It's a one-pager. It's what is the project, what's the benefit, how much effort do we want to spend on discovering it, or what's the effort involved in discovering it. We then create that one-pager, circulate it, and talk about it for a minute, actually. And then there's a decision as to whether that should go ahead or not. Or, in theory, should go ahead or not, without thinking at that stage about whether we have the people to do it, or what the priority is. Discovery, we go into a bit more depth, and we look at 8 questions, kind of questions that you might ask any project. What does success look like? Again, how long is it going to take? We like to ask kind of little more in-depth questions around, do you need to buy anything? Government procurement is painful and slow. So we like to ask that. Who will support the thing afterwards if it's a thing that needs supporting? Technical preferences, that kind of stuff. And we actually, at these stages as well, and I'll mention this again a bit later, we ask people to prioritise their own projects. I will come to that. So one of the first things we did, and actually going back slightly, after we came out of Inception, we ran this project like a project. So we had a backlog of cards stories that we wanted to address, and things that we wanted to achieve. And one of the first things that we wanted to do was put up a wall. So we found like the biggest wall we could, kicked everyone else off it, threw some weight around, and created this marvellous thing, which was a view of all the projects that were going on across GDS in different stages. The kind of cream cards, stuff that go, all the kind of assessment and discovery and up to delivery. Blue cards are in delivery, and pink cards are operational projects. One of the things that we found with the organisation growing so quickly and so many things going on, that there wasn't really one list of everything that everyone was working on. So it was a chance to say, okay, let's kind of bring out your dead, tell us what you're doing, and put it map it to where it fits on this wall, and we can have a starting point to work with. We also made our own cards. That's always a nice thing to do. It's amazing the amount of people that ask me if we got these, where we bought these, and actually we just print them up ourselves, which is fine. So we do things like with Project ID on there, we have who, and the senior management team is the sponsor, who owns it, what the project name is, what kind of priority it has, and that's a linear priority, and what blockers it might have as well. So it's obviously a quick way of seeing what's going on. We fold our cards as well, so we've got extra information inside just to not overwhelm people too much. This was actually, the bit at the bottom there was a bit of an experiment to look at team sizes. So we were looking at how many people should be in the team and how many people are in the team, and we're seeing as a quick glance as to whether those teams were strong enough or not, and what we could do about that. The other thing we did, and this is kind of something that I kind of pushed. So the wall is the truth. I always have a difficulty between the idea of you have a wall, you have software that replicates the wall, and then you have a kind of disconnect between what do you update? Do you update the wall? Do you update the software? And who needs to see it? And I think that's really confusing. So what we do is we have the wall is the truth, and this is our very high-tech mechanism for understanding if anything on the wall has changed. So in keeping with the motorway theme, we printed out some wheels, and everyone loves Lego, so we printed out some Lego wheels. Very high-tech. We were gonna, I think at some point we were gonna actually get some Lego wheels, and it never made it that far. It just stayed as bits of paper printed out. And interestingly enough, I was looking around the 6th floor the other day, and there's a few other teams that are using wheels as well as their kind of management of their ones. So it's like this thing that's proliferating across GDS. One day everyone will have Lego wheels on their walls. So we back things up on a Google spreadsheet, which essentially acts a little bit like a database, which helps spit out management information, but ultimately what you see on the wall is the truth. We do encourage people as well to come and move cards if they need to, if things have changed, but yeah, if we've got wheels, we know it's happened. So one of a really important thing that we were asked to look at was cross-organisational prioritisation. So in order to help do that, we came up with this, which probably a lot of people have seen before, a kind of idea of how well does something fit with our organisational goals, and how urgent is it. So we have, I think now, 7 goals across GES if something fit. We have a score of 1 to 4 for those, so if something doesn't meet that goal at all, it's a 1. If it partially meets it, it's a 2. If it enables it's an enabler to meeting, it's a 3, and if it significantly meets, it's a 4. So it's like a possible score of 28 there. We also look at things like how does it fit with our strategic plan, are there any deadlines, and is there any cost of delay? Is it going to be financial or reputationally damaged if we don't do something? And we ask people to score their own stuff against this. We tried to ask the senior management team to do it. They found it took too much of their time, and obviously they want to. There can be some discrepancies in what some people think are important against other people. So we ask people to prioritise it, and then we question it if as a group we don't agree with it. So it kind of ends up with something like this, which was a tool that we tried out at one point. Cats, obviously, why not? So things that are important and urgent are Hamilton the hipster cat. Everybody know this famous internet cat? It's got a moustache. So important and urgent are the hipster cats. Important, not less urgent, kind of fluffy cats. Urgent and not important are grumpy cats. And not important, not urgent are. Sorry if anyone likes Sphinx cats, but they're the ugly cats. In kind of more real terms, it looks a little bit like this. So the idea of the things that come up here are the things we should do first, do soon and do next, a little bit interchangeable depending on urgency, and there's arguments for them to be both way around. And the stuff down here, which is not important or urgent, we should stop. So we did have some difficult decisions and difficult conversations when things did fall down there, and actually stop our involvement in projects or help people to get them done other ways that meant it would take pressure off of us as an organisation. So one really important thing that we learned is how do you get information from people? How do you encourage people to give you information? Obviously, if you're running a project, you'll have stand-ups. So that's something that we do here, which we call the portfolio stand-up. Not really it's a stand-up of stand-ups in some aspects, but not really. So we created this regular rhythm to encourage, to allow information to kind of come to us, and points that people would understand when they needed things doing, what they needed to do, and how they got into the system, and how they got into the flow of it. So this was what we came up with. So we had prioritisation check on a Monday, management report also went out on 2 Mondays, portfolio stand-ups on Tuesdays, approvals board, which I'll come to in a minute, and a kind of people planning type exercise. And every one of those forums is very much focused on one specific outcome. And one thing that we found is if you try and do too much in a meeting with lots of people in it, then you just can talk for hours and you never get anything done. I see nods. There's empathy there. So one of the things that's been really successful for us is the approvals board, which is a once-a-week meeting with the senior management team where someone will bring either a recommendation that we move into discovery with something, or a recommendation that we move into delivery with something. And we answer these questions. So with the one-pager for the assessment recommendations and the longer piece for the discovery recommendations, we ask, should the organisation spend more time doing discovery on it, and should the organisation deliver a project? So based on our goals as an organisation, whether it feels like the right kind of fit, we bring someone from each of those functional areas across GDS to discuss whether it's right for us to do. There is the option at this point, so these are the decision points where we can stop projects if we want to, and we do. It's almost a little bit what's the least amount of work you can do in order to make a decision whether you should do more on that project. This meeting, I think, I haven't been to it for a little while, but the last time I was, it's got down to half an hour, so it's super fast, and it's very focused. And what it doesn't do at that point is, although if it's agreed that we should be doing a project, what we don't do at that point is then talk about, we don't talk about where it is in the prioritisation across the whole organisation, and we don't put people on that project at that point. We take that discussion to a different meeting. The portfolio stand-up, we ask 2 questions, which is, has your project changed stage? So people are moving cards across, and is there anything blocking you? So we can raise that information up to a more senior level if we need to. This is attended by, if a functional area has a program manager, which some of them do, it's attended by that person. If there's a few program managers around in that area, then they come along. But generally somebody that can talk for the projects that are going on in their area will come. And that gives us the regular changes. And the management information. So I learned a lot about Google scripting in the last year. A lot. We do loads. It's amazing what you can do in Google Docs. Originally, management information was, I think there was a massive bunch of sheets that said everything that everyone was working on, with a status for every single project. And, the team would go into the meeting and sit there and ignore the bits of paper that are on their desk and talk about things that they wanted to talk about. and no real kind of issues were brought up. So we, using the information that came from the portfolio, putting dates and data into a spreadsheet, we could easily do things like look at what's blocked right now and how long has it been blocked and what actually we're working on. So we've kind of now got a one-pager that the director can pull out his pocket, and if someone says, what's going on with that project, you can quickly go, oh, this is happening. And when you've got 300 projects, it's quite difficult to do that. We're looking at things as well like the portfolio priority and where projects might sit within that, and kind of RAG status projects that are red and what we can do about them. And that's actually me. So that's kind of my journey with what I've learned about portfolio management. So has anyone got any questions or any thoughts or have any ideas or experiences of their own they'd like to add?
Yeah. Sorry, you mentioned earlier you were running some experiments to try to find the best team size. Did that come up with anything?
What we were doing actually is we were running some experiments to look at how we could manage people in a little bit more of a inclusive and in a way that didn't put too much pressure on those people. So what we were finding is lots of people were working on too many projects, which is for a growing organisation, for any organisation, normal. So we were experimenting with creating physical tokens for people. So that if you actually wanted to put someone on more projects, then you'd have to like start tearing up bits of paper. So it came like almost like an act that you'd have to like tear people in half. That with the amount of people that we have, it came and the movement that we have as well, it became a little bit of a management overhead. So it was decided that wasn't it was too much work, and we're working on new ways to think about that.
Yeah.